As this year comes to a close, I have missed quite a lot of films within the past year. Due to things, I have been on hiatus not just from YouTube, but from practically everything regarding watching recent films within these past months. Ironically enough, I've been spending time watching all the movies that I've been bullied into seeing. And I'm glad I did, because otherwise I would have never understood the cultural masterpiece that is Monty Python the Holy Grail.
If you will not show us the Grail, we shall take your castle by force.
When you pick a lost cause, you really commit. Where do they make dreamers like you? Get lost, freak!
Okay, fine, there are some actual good movies I've watched too. But I couldn't have possibly missed that much, right?
This joint strike between actors and writers, the first of its kind,
there's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic.
We will not be having our jobs taken away and giving to robots. We will not allow you to take away our dignity.
And I thought 2022 was a bad time for movies. For over 3 months, we have witnessed the biggest strike to come to the film industry in 60 years. Due to the constant uses of AI, underpaying staff, and a mountain of problems within the film industry, the Writers Guild of America have finally had enough and went on strike. And the responses from major studios and CEOs is just about as shitty as you'd expect. So in response, the Screen Actors Guild also went on strike. God, that's a real power move right there. And for 143 days, these wonderful and talented people fought to simply be treated with respect. To show the people that want to replace them with technology that they weren't going to continue producing their films under these conditions. And to show that they love their craft just as much as the rest of us. And if you were anti-strike the entire time and firmly believe that these people were being selfish or overreacting, then you can respectfully fuck off into a different video, because I will only have harsh things to say towards you. Thank you and never come back. During this time, many negotiations were held and rejected for obvious reasons. More news about the state of the industry became more aware to the public, and above all else, Brandon Lee Mulligan held a strike-wide D&D campaign that brought true euphoria to my nerd brain.
Make some noise if you are part of the working class! Every person in this crowd is dedicated to stories about overcoming impossible odds and telling people that in the depths of despair there is always hope. And no matter what you are facing, when you face it together, you are unstoppable.
And after 118 days, the studios gave SAG-AFTRA their best and final offer. And then they actually gave them an offer SAG-AFTRA could agree on. Then almost 30 days later, the WGA was given, once again, the studios' best and final offer. Until they also realized how shit the offer was and was given another offer later they would accept. It took some time with a tremendous amount of support from the public, but the strike finally ended with an offer that I am extremely happy to see for myself. Until I realized I now have to talk about the MCU again. So, without further ado, here's my catch-up list of all the movies that I've seen for 2023. Also, this is going based off my Letterboxd watch list, so the order of this list is atrocious. I thought that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was a harmless, fun movie with a terrifying villain and some great moments with the Lang family. Then I watched one episode of Loki Season 2 and realized that they had no idea what to do with Kang and Ant-Man. The trailers made Kang to be this unstoppable force of nature, tried to manipulate Scott to join his side, and for it to be this really great conflict with Scott choosing to regain time with his family at the cost of Kang's rule over time. But realistically, this narrative was shown for like 20 minutes collectively. There's a lot of screen time taken away from the relationship with Scott and Cassie to focus on exploring the quantum realm more, and it really just deepens the whole experience. A lot of people argue that Scott and Cassie have zero chemistry together, which isn't entirely false. They barely have any chemistry because they hardly have any time with each other. There's one really good scene where every alternate version of Scott collectively agrees that Cassie is the most important thing to him. But that level of development for the relationship is never shown again. Honestly, this is probably the only scene I can genuinely call good. Everything else is either pointless nonsense or has the potential of being good but fumbles the bag anyways. The ending could have been the culmination of Scott as a character, as well as the relationship he has with his daughter, until they just undo Scott's choice entirely, making the ending pointless. Speaking of pointless, Kang and MODOK are some of the most useless villains the MCU has had. MODOK has one terribly written conversation with Cassie and then fucking dies.
It's too late. Look at me. I'm such a dick. It's never too late to stop being a dick.
Kang, on the other hand, is seen as this unstoppable force of nature until he all of a sudden isn't. Kang does essentially nothing this entire movie except existing until the end. He hardly interacts or morally challenges Scott the way the trailer set him out to do, and doesn't contribute to the story until the ending. This movie is best described as filler. Hardly anything changes by the end, and you can honestly skip out on this movie without missing anything else to come in the future. If they spent more time building Scott's relationship with Cassie and not having a fake out at the end, it would have been different. But unfortunately, this movie played it too damn safe. 3 out of 10. It's fucking D&D time, yeah!
They got magic and flair, they got falchions and cunning. They don't see over there, there's a monster incoming. Inspiration is waiting, rise up, don't think twice. Put your fate in your hands, take a chance, roll the dice. Can you answer the call, digging deep in your soul? As the legend unfolds, now it's your turn to
I love D&D so much. And when I saw that they were making a movie, I was really intrigued by just how insanely good it looked. I was already expecting this movie to be dumb fun, but when I watched it for the first time, I was pleasantly surprised. And then I watched it a second and third time, and I loved it even more. Honor Among Thieves offers so much than just a dumb fun adventure movie. If you're not a huge fan of D&D, this ends up being a fun ride with a lot of amazing humor and action. It also has some really intriguing characters that all get their own time in the spotlight, which isn't an easy feat to do when there's 5 separate protagonists. But if you're a hardcore D&D fan and player, this movie is nothing short of a masterpiece. There's not only tons of references towards the lore of D&D, there's tons of moments that make this movie feel like a real D&D campaign. Characters not noticing the loopholes behind spells, finding stupid ways around puzzles, long expositions about a character's backstory, and of course, we have an overpowered NPC companion. Zank is the embodiment of a DM NPC that you drag along for a short while because you really don't want your players to die for a specific mission that is immediately thrown away as soon as the quest is over. The more I watch this movie, the more subtle hints towards an actual D&D session I can see, and that heightens a lot of the jokes that this movie has. As far as the actual story goes, while it may be a bit linear, it is heightened by just how endearing the cast is. Holger the Barbarian is very charming. I like how the combat-focused character of the group still gets a chance to have some character moments, wanting to find a family of her own after feeling betrayed by her ex-husband. Simon is just so lovable with an arc I did not expect him to have. His wild magic played so well with his character, trying to find his confidence that he's had all along. Chris Pine as Edgin obviously ate in this movie. His personality, humor, and kind heart is what really brought this movie together. All he wanted was to try and for once not be a failure, so he brings his team together to do just that. And the connection he has with his party over the course of the movie is what makes him realize that his want of bringing back his wife was selfish. In trying to succeed in his goal, he was going to fail his daughter again. So his choice to use the Resurrection Stone on Holga felt really earned. This movie is just everything I want from a D&D movie. An exciting adventure with tons of great humor, fantastic action scenes and sets, with an incredible score that is never leaving my D&D playlist on Spotify, and a band of wonderful characters that can balance out the pretty stereotypical and linear story. Jonathan is the best character in this movie though, don't at me. 9 out of 10.
Someday, I'm gonna make great machines that fly. And me and my friends are gonna go flying together into the forever and beautiful sky. Lila, and Thieves, and Floor, and me. Rocket.
Guardians of the Galaxy has always been the most consistent the MCU has ever been. A big part of this was due to James Gunn being a fantastic director who continues to care for crafting excellent stories with true passion behind every character, action sequence, and music track. And with that, I have a PSA for you all. Just because you do not like a joke James Gunn made does not mean he is an objectively bad director. Sorry, I've been holding that one in for a while. Anyways, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is so good, I was definitely not the same person by the end of the movie. Guardians 1 and 2 was all about saving the galaxy, but Guardians 3 is all about saving one friend. And the Guardians stop at absolutely nothing to save Rocket. It's insane how this movie remains to be fun, action-packed, and freeing, while also being this emotional roller coaster that got me to cry not once, but twice. I hardly ever genuinely worry about characters in my dumb moving picture, but I was terrified for what would happen to all his characters, Rocket especially. Watching his backstory slowly unfold as he's slowly dying was heartbreaking. And having the entire trilogy come together to tell a story about a tortured raccoon who just wanted to regain the family he's lost, but never really knowing how. I mean, man, I can't believe I could relate to a CGI raccoon so much. But there's so much more to this story besides Rocket. Peter and Gamora's relationship in this movie is extremely hard to watch with a very bittersweet ending, and I couldn't ask for more. Nebula being vulnerable after a life of being closed off from everyone was inspiring. Drax showed his true nature of being a father by getting a chance to be as goofy as he wanted to. I even enjoyed Mantis defending herself and her friends, sort of being the voice of reason through this catastrophe, and I was a huge fan of her character to begin with, honestly. But the High Evolutionary is fucking terrifying. This immature, pouty, powerful being that so wants to be a god tries to reinvent society into his perfect world, but when we actually get to that planet, it's this dull gray town, nothing special, because it lacks the humanity that lives within all beings. Ironically enough, this is a lesson that Disney has not learned from watching this movie. Or for a better term, they've accidentally learned and picked up the mindset from the High Evolutionary. You guys know this is the villain of this movie, right? Right? And my god, his performance in this movie is fucking immaculate.
There is no God! That's why I stepped in!
The main takeaway from this movie is that no life isn't worth saving. Everything matters. The Guardians go so far out of the way to save one life. Adam Warlock even saves Peter in the end, someone he was supposed to kill. It's all important. It's all sacred. And that is such a beautiful message where I can get past some jokes that might not work, or how little Adam feels in the narrative. This movie has an incredible villain, heartfelt themes, rich characters, some of the best action the MCU has to offer, all with a passion of films behind one man.
You know, I always hope for one thing when people go to see a movie. I hope that when they go to see a movie, they walk in, they enjoy it, of course, and then when they walk out of the theater, they love the person next to them a little more than what they felt about them when they walked in. That when they walk out of the theater, maybe they feel a little bit more hopeful about what this world can be than when they walked in. This is a story about compassion. It's about the power of compassion, the power of empathy, and hopefully a little bit of that will soak up, just a little bit in people, and then we'll have been, done what we needed to do.
10 out of 10.
Can a shark dance?
Can a shark dance? Watch me.
I went through this entire movie fully believing that Nimona was voiced by Ashley Johnson, and I felt ultimately cheated when I realized that she wasn't, and the actual voice actress was Chloe Grace Moretz. Whatever, still good, I guess. The ideas this movie presents is really awesome. The futuristic medieval world that the characters live in was such an interesting idea, and it works when you think about how stunted the society is with its morals and political values. The structure of the city evolves, but the state of how it runs has never changed. Ballister remains hopeful that the director will just sort everything out, until Nimona helps him slowly piece together the cracks in logic and flaws within the society they live in. I really enjoyed watching the pieces slowly come together about the director and her mindset of keeping everything within her grasp. The director's influence on the institution is so strong, it took people like Ballister or Ambrosius until the latter half of the movie to understand that what they're doing is wrong. But even then, there's still some back and forth behind what they should even follow. The conflict behind what they should follow when they've been following the same thing for thousands of years is really strong, especially with Ambrosius. Basically, the entire kingdom rests on Ambrosius' shoulders just because he's a descendant of Glorth. I mean, just look at how conflicted this man is about his own existence.
Who am I? A direct descendant of Glorth? I never asked for that. Now everyone expects me to arrest Ballister, and if I don't, I'm a traitor to you, and if I do, I'm a traitor to him. Oh, and on top of that, I chopped off his arm. His arm! Who chops off an arm? Because I was trained to? Arm chopping is not a language! I'm fine, director.
But besides that, Nimona themselves is such a tragically funny character. Their attachment to Ballister works because they've both been hurt by the people they thought would support them. And I love Ballister's transformation from this whiny, scared, and hopeless man to this glorified badass who feels on top of the world as he journeys more with Nimona. Their relationship is so wholesome, and it's great for Ballister to change more as a character by learning more about Nimona's wants or preferences regarding their identity. And oh my god, do I love all the knights in this movie. Thaddeus is a really funny side antagonist who acts like this big shot bully until he suddenly isn't. And my god, am I all for the gay relationship that Ballister and Ambrosius have. They just want to be happy, director. Just let this shit happen. The final moments of the movie is also really emotional. Nimona has been betrayed by their only friend and treated like a monster. So in doing so, they acted like one. They no longer cared about living a life they wanted, only about living a life they were forced into. Which makes one of their final scenes of them trying to end their life for all to see extremely heartbreaking. Notice throughout her entire walk to the statue that Nimona hasn't harmed a single individual. If anything, it was really just the director's commanding forces doing all the collateral damage. This is not a monster. This is a child doing exactly what the city wants. This final battle isn't for survival or protection of the city. It was all about saving the life of one scared little child. And that's all the city really needed to change. To learn that the smaller things matter. Nimona was definitely a surprise for me and one I'll definitely be watching from time to time. 9 out of 10. To understand what I'm about to tell you, I need you to do something. I need you to believe in... Oh wait, hold on, wrong flash. This movie fucking blows. And for the purposes of making sure you know how unbiased I am towards all the things that happen behind the scenes with Ezra Miller, I will refrain from talking about them and their transgressions this entire segment. Cool? Cool. This movie still blows. To be quite honest, I didn't have a whole lot of hope of this movie to begin with. It was first teased all the way back in... I'm not kidding. Season 1 of CW's Flash. And for the past 9 years, this movie has been tossed around, thrown into a microwave, and started from scratch countless times. Now, I'm not one for blaming the trouble production behind films for their quality. I mean, hell, Toy Story 2 was deleted from existence once. But this movie was doomed from the start. However, the final product was a movie to do what Black Adam didn't and change the hierarchy of the DC universe forever. Even though they didn't. The Flash is overall just a very confused movie. At first, it started as a Flashpoint story. Barry goes back in time and saves his mom and has to face the consequences of what comes with it. The bulk of the movie, however, is present Barry spending time with past Barry, teaching me his powers, and wacky hijinks ensue until the entire world is at stake from Zod. And I'm not gonna lie, there are some good things about this story. I actually really like past Barry in this movie. He has a fun personality. I also love how present Barry's guilt of not being able to save everyone bleeds into this Barry's motivations. The last half hour of the movie is definitely my favorite, as past Barry continues to act like this god that can control everything, trying to save everyone when he knows he can't save his own mother. I am the Flash is a really powerful quote that does make this a really good Flash movie by the end. Though, most of this does happen within the last half hour. The rest of the movie is filled with pointless fan service that does essentially nothing to progress Barry's character or the arc he needs to go through at all. And I'm sorry, but if the main reason why you want to make a Flash movie is because of Michael Keaton's Batman, then something is clearly wrong with your direction. When Batman and Supergirl get introduced, it feels like a lot of the focus is taken away from the main point of the movie to focus on everything else that isn't the Flash. So when I was watching the last half hour, I was pleasantly surprised to see this movie actually have a point. Barry finally learned that some things you cannot control, and even shared one last moment with his mother. Wait, no, what are you doing? Barry! Don't change the timeline again! Barry! 3 out of 10, this movie should have just been arm-starred.
Bacon, egg, and cheese. Bacon, egg, and cheese. Let me get a bacon, egg, and cheese. Bacon, egg, and cheese. Yo, let me get that bacon, Arizona ice. With the bed,
I will never accept any adult actors for voice acting the Turtles ever again. Mutant Mayhem is a breath of fresh air as the Turtles are voiced by actual teenagers. And trust me, this does make a difference.
He'd be like, what did you just say? Riz? Use that in the movie. Explain it to me and then let's use it.
The fact that they're laughing makes me think we shouldn't say that.
Seeing the Turtles essentially goof off and be stupid teenagers is a huge selling point of the movie for me. They all have such fun personalities, and I enjoyed them grow into their own heroes as they learn to not care about wanting to be accepted. I will say though, the whole teenager aspect of the movie does overtake the ninja stuff, So all the action scenes, while extremely impressive, is a little weakened by the fact that we don't get to see them train often. Their first battle is where they're a bunch of fumbling idiots, then all of a sudden they have this huge ninja beatdown montage. Again, the action is really well done, but it's clearly want to focus more on a coming of age story than anything. Regardless, this is a really fun experience. This is some of the best humor I've seen from TMNT as a franchise, and it all comes from the great casting choices behind all of the turtles. I mean, who knew Gumball could turn out to be his anxious, in over his head wannabe leader? Actually, I can totally believe that. The relationship with the turtles have with Splinter is also really cute to see, and I love the connection between Splinter and Superfly. How they both just want to protect their own, only Superfly's methods are far more dangerous and corrupt. But this is enough for Splinter to loosen up and trust that his boys can be with the humans. Speaking of Superfly, he's just cool as shit. He exudes absolute villainy through his casual mentions of eradicating all of humanity to make his own family. Just give us more pure evil villains in our movies, it's not that hard to ask. If there's really anything I should complain about this movie, it's that I don't, and probably never will, enjoy any of the turtles trying to romance April. It makes more sense here given their personalities, but I just don't enjoy the romance part between Leo and April. I would have appreciated at the end if they just remained friends, as Leo's attraction to her seems completely due to the fact that she's literally the only human he's talked to. But alas, the curse of making April a love interest continues. Their friendship works really well too. I like that April acts as this force against the turtles' hope of being accepted, seeing as how she's an outcast as well, because it makes it all the more better when they all feel accepted. I hope that in the sequel though, someone like Cynthia gets more to do because she was by far the worst part about this movie. She felt more like a build up on the sequel, and while I'm super excited for it, she just didn't have too much of an impact in this one. Overall, this was just a really fun movie that, while simple in its premise, can go a really long way with its message. 8.5 out of 10, make Shredder as terrifying as possible, please.
I like the word moist, okay? It's who I am! And if you can't accept that, then what's the point?
So, I'm not gonna lie, I expected absolutely nothing of this movie aside from pretty animation. And for the most part, that's kind of what I got. The best way I can describe Elemental is cute. Ember's arc is harmless enough. It definitely takes a while for her to realize that she has a conflict to begin with, but it's good when the gears actually start turning. Wade, on the other hand, I don't know, I didn't really see him as too great of a character. He was either a crime mess or a selfless asshole, and this is somehow enough for Ember to like him. The movie tries to portray him as this great guy who's easy to connect with people, but it feels like he's just really sad and dramatic until people inevitably pity him. The relationship is cute enough though, even if it takes way too long for it to get actually good. The whole rule about elements not mixing kind of works because this whole ruling seems to be only directed towards fire elementals. It shows how targeted fire elementals really are instead of there being as equal treatment. Though if you're expecting me to give this world a massive tongue bath like I did with Nimona, then you definitely came to the wrong video. The ideas of a well-written stunted society is there, but it doesn't go too far past the surface level world building. Kind of like this whole movie, really. The only time this movie ever really goes outside of safe space is when Ember has her conflict with her family and the shop, and that pressure comes along with living down a family legacy. Only to realize that all of this pressure was just in her head. But again, it takes a really long time for this movie to showcase all of that. Wow, that's now 3 movies that have been average only to get really good at the end. 6 out of 10, it's cute enough, but this is a movie I'll probably only watch when I'm multitasking. But DreamWorks has only seemed to get better and better as they continue to make true art. And thus me putting on a Ruby Gillman clip over describing DreamWorks' movies as true art has become an omen. Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken is best described as mid. And no, I don't mean the mid like what you call an MCU film that you really don't like. This is an actual mid movie. I have no strong feelings about this movie one way or the other. Ruby Gillman is a fine enough character. I think I enjoyed her time being a teenager going through high school more than I enjoyed all the fantastical stuff on the Krakens. Even though hiding her secret never made sense to begin with me. Because I guess every human is stupid if they all really believe that someone from Canada is fucking blue. But I guess mermaids are also stupid if Chelsea also had no idea that she was a Kraken until later on. Hey, wait a minute. Chelsea didn't know that Ruby was a Kraken to begin with. Why the fuck did she go to high school? Okay, so, hold on. Pause. Chelsea is actually Novissa, the mermaid queen in search for the trident. But the only way she could do that is through manipulating Ruby to get the trident herself, as the Krakens are the only people that are strong enough to get through the barrier for the trident. but she clearly had no idea she was a Kraken until later on. So what the fuck did Nerissa expect to find by acting like a normal ass teenager in a city she had no idea the Gillmans even lived? Okay, I lied. This movie isn't mid. It's just bad. The first bit of the movie is mid until the Kraken stuff actually starts. Ruby is so quick to trust Chelsea. Immediately after being told that the mermaids can't be trusted by her grandmother that she clearly trusts. There's not one scene where Ruby doubts trusting Chelsea. It would have made more sense if Ruby didn't trust her mother or grandmother because of how much she's already been lied to. But no, she just blindly falls around Chelsea, leading to possibly the stupidest twist villain I've seen. Yes, even more than fucking Hans. Oh, Ruby, if only someone truly loved you. There's no reason why this had to be Nerissa. If this actually was Nerissa's daughter trying to seek freedom by getting the trident, or even better, Chelsea trying to get some acceptance from Nerissa after she ran away by stealing the trident for her, this segment would be a lot less mean. But after this reveal, I checked out the movie. Ruby's whole arc is resolved by Brill saying that her mother gave up her life as a princess for Ruby, which she already fucking knew. This movie continues to tell you things and then proceeds to show you the same things, acting like you should be surprised. The only saving grace I can ever give this movie is that the supporting cast is kind of cute, and I liked Connor, I guess. 3 out of 10, I feel personally attacked by those remarks. So, remember how I said that the order of this list would be atrocious? Yeah, imagine me going from Ruby Gillman to Knock at the Cabin. This was definitely a palate cleanser for me after Ruby Gillman though. Dave Bautista has really become one of my favorite actors of this time. His performance as Leonard is so raw. There's a lot of genuine heartbreak behind his personality. It really feels like this is all a duty he has to do. This is true with the whole cast really, except Redmond. What first seems like some psychos targeting innocent people for their sexuality slowly turns into a tragic choice that has to be made for the sake of the world. The conflict between Andrew and Eric is really what was bringing me on the edge of my seat though. The more Andrew started to pick apart the perpetrator's plan, the less I actually started to believe any of this was real. However, it all came full circle in the end when more disastrous consequences happened before their very eyes. It got to a point where it was almost hard to watch. I wanted to believe that none of the stuff about the apocalypse was real because I didn't feel mostly ready to say goodbye to any of these characters. This movie really knows how to build tension and make fictional, terrifying situations feel real. A part of that is because of how much the time characters have spent just talking. It would have been too easy to make this movie all about Eric and Andrew just trying to escape with Wen. But half of the movie is spent simply learning about the characters' personalities, their history, traumas, fears, and hearts. Every one of the characters have something to care about, which made every death harder to watch. Except, Redmond, he met Andrew's expectations exactly. There's so much about this movie that made my heart rise and sink as time went on. Leonard's death at the end was definitely what got me the most, as I grew to love everything about his personality and his character as a whole. But I will say, the final exposition about the group being the Four Horsemen was definitely unnecessary. I think that the movie was very clear enough about the group's role, and having Eric essentially explain the whole plot of the movie felt like Shyamalan just backtracked on everything he was building up to. Trusting your audience is key in a movie, but it doesn't feel like that was the case here. Regardless, this was a real experience of a film. 9 out of 10. Okay, now that I've watched a real masterclass of a movie, time to go back to my dumb animated slop where I belong. The Super Mario Bros. Movie is definitely an animated movie. This is kind of one of those movies where I can just turn my brain off and just have fun. I really don't have too much to say about this one really. Bowser is clearly the best part, as Zack Black portrays him in this raging baby that feels like he deserves Peach, and Mario is the true villain behind his story. That and Peach is simply a masterpiece. I expect it to win an Oscar. Even without Zack Black though, the movie is still a fun time. Mario's a great protagonist that tries to prove that he's more than just a plumber from New York. I think that having a proper origin story for Mario is a clever choice that makes for a pretty good video game adaptation. Luigi is hilarious, where I'm kinda disappointed that we didn't see more of him. But I'm glad I at least got to see the sexual tension between Bowser and Luigi when I could.
Tough one I see. Maybe this'll get you to talk.
The animation is gorgeous, there's a ton of well-placed references, and the final battle is so damn cool. I think that if anything, it's definitely missing that next level of writing that something like Sonic 2 had. Whereas Sonic 2 missed out on tailoring more to his longtime fans, like what Mario clearly excelled in. Hopefully Sonic 3 can just go batshit crazy and add a bunch of fan service while telling an amazing story. Yes, I know this segment is about Mario, but honestly I don't have much to say about Mario, so I'm just filling the time to talk about Sonic as normal business goes. 7 out of 10, Charlie Day's Luigi is canon.
Alright, I get it!
So I'm going to be honest, this movie is so much worse with Zachary Levi in it. Billy is almost 18 in this movie, and Zachary Levi acts like he's 12 as Shazam, which is the same way he acted in the first movie when Billy was 14. Other than that, this movie is a bit of a surprise really. I still think that the first Shazam is better, but I like Billy's complex of trying to be the big hero of the city because he's afraid of growing up, potentially being forced to move out of his family's house. Boy, it sure would have been better if this all wasn't shown with Zachary Levi's face. Okay, I swear this is the last time I'm going to mention my hatred for Zachary Levi. Probably.
Wait, didn't you tell us the wizard disintegrated? The skin peeled off his face?
Holy shit, he's back! They finally let Asha Angel out of the basement to record this one scene. Please, just let him act out a scene for longer than 2 minutes. Just let it happen. Billy needs more recognition. God damn it! I love this family so much though. The dynamic between the entire family is wholesome while also being a little too real, honestly. All Billy wants to do is keep his family together, but it feels so much harder the more life catches up on him. I'm at least glad that this didn't turn to the whole family essentially hating him, more so like the family cares so much that they had to knock some sense into him. And Freddy. Holy shit, I love Freddy so much. If it wasn't for Grace Caroline being, well, Grace Caroline, Freddy would be my all-time favorite character in this movie. I love how he has such an unpredictably fucked up mind that God magic is just barely enough to control him. And his friendship with Billy is way better here than the first movie. It really feels like they're two brothers here. The ending almost got me, honestly, as Freddy was cursing at Billy for making the noble sacrifice that he needed to make. As far as villains go, they're cool enough, and they are serviceable enough to keep things interesting within the family dynamic, and the relationship with Freddy is kinda cute and totally not creepy at all. The rest of the villains are... They really act as an external force for Billy to eventually face alone to save his family. Billy's arc pays off really well in the final battle though, and they did a fake out with Wonder Woman. Yikes. Yeah, the final couple of minutes of this movie is pretty bad and almost cheap as the final fight. Almost, because honestly the director of this fight is just cool as shit. Sandberg definitely knows how to make his fight scenes pop the fuck off. While it may not be as good as the first, I do hope for a third movie. 7.5 out of 10. Please let me just see Billy Batson more. I'm so tired of Zachary Levi.
We're a team.
Oh, no, we're not a team.
We're not a team.
The Marvels is a really exciting time. I knew that Iman Vellani was going to be the main highlight of this movie for me, as I enjoyed her a lot in Ms. Marvel, but she really didn't take the spotlight away from everyone else. If anything, Kamala had the least to do in this movie, which kinda tells you how much I enjoyed myself. This is what happens when you have a really good script for the actors. Because I love Brie Larson here way more than I did Captain Marvel or Endgame. Her personality really shines here, as she's pretty blunt about pretty much everything. But that bluntness and hot-headed nature makes for some really good moments with Carol. Carol having the weight of the universe finally sink in was great to see. I like how she constantly tries to make up for her mistakes she made as Captain Marvel. She wanted to try and fix everything as she thought she needed to be being one of the most powerful beings of the universe. But that only seemed to make things worse. Not only did the Kree lose their homes because of her and to be the catalyst for the villain's motives, but she also lost that connection with Rambo while trying to make things right. Carol and Rambo have a strong dynamic in this. All three of the heroes do, honestly. Even though Kamala doesn't have much to do, she acts as the heart of the group. She knows when to connect or console with someone like Rambo or Carol. And Kamala slowly learning to treat Carol as human like herself was really nice to see. This is the first time she gets to meet a hero, and her over-centric personality actually presses Carol even more. So seeing Kamala be humbled and learn from her mistakes was really nice to see. These three definitely have good chemistry together, with all three of them doing their best to get along. And I gotta say, the close quarter combat in this movie is fucking spectacular. It looks so fluid with excellent choreography to come from all of them, especially Kamala once she mixes her combat with her powers. They definitely went all out to make the combat as tight as possible. The villain herself is fine. I think that there could have been more time to explore her character more rather than just having one big scene explaining her motives. Though I do like that the villain is a consequence of Carol's mistakes and that Carol herself is able to make it up to her at the end by restoring life to Hala. And Rambo's sacrifice at the end definitely felt worthwhile, as this is the one time where Carol isn't the one trying to control everything. This movie is just really, really awesome. There's a lot of great character moments with really funny scenes that come with it. My god, Goose's big scene is unnecessary as hell, but I love it so much. 8 out of 10, the CGI monster at the end is ugly as shit. Okay, so these next two movies were ones that I've been definitely wanting to talk about and watch the absolute most since the strike, but I refuse to in support. But now that the strike is over, oh my god, Barbie had me on my knees queasing. Barbie is really, really funny. Out of everything on this list, this is by far the funniest movie I've seen. Hold on, is that Scott Pilgrim and my motherfucking Barbie movie?
Hi, Barbie.
Oh, hi, Alan.
You know Sonic the Hedgehog?
It takes advantage of Barbie World and just the zaniness of the movie as a whole as it gets really goofy with the jokes regarding the world along with the characters that live within it. Even when Barbie goes to the real world, Mattel still ends up being a group of stupidly goofy characters. The chase scene between Barbie and Mattel is everything I could have asked for in this movie, honestly. Despite the humor though, the self-awareness of this movie really strengthens the writing. I didn't think I'd be saying this, but Barbie has some genuinely fantastic writing. At first, when Barbie tries to reconnect with a human, she's shot down as her own existence as everything Sasha hates about the culture she lives in. Now, I thought that the whole movie at first was going to be about just breaking all the toxicity behind Barbie, along with the label society brings upon women. But no, they treat the men in this movie just as terribly. Both Barbie and Ken are really shitty people and it's amazing. They use the idea behind Barbie and Ken dolls to explore the toxic masculinity of men, or the toxic entitledness of women, or just how impossible it is to even be one. Ken makes for such a fun antagonist and his theme song is something that is now never leaving my Spotify. And honestly, the whole movie makes for a really great journey that turns from this fun adventure into a story about self-discovery. The difficulty is to be a woman by today's standards, how hard it can be for men to find themselves without that significant other, and ultimately what both groups can do for each other. This wacky zany movie about a bunch of dolls fighting for dominance becomes this beautiful narrative about humanity and change. There's a lot of slow moments where Barbie takes in the beauty of the real world. This is the type of movie that needs to be studied more than just being reviewed on a stupid YouTube video, because it manages to be both extremely entertaining and captivating in so many ways. 9.5 out of 10, I'm Just Ken and Pizzas are about to have the biggest battle of the decade at the Oscars. Okay, so for the next part, I'm not gonna lie, I've been recording for almost an hour on this one, and this is the third time I've had to record the same segment, so I'm gonna need to mentally prepare myself for this one.
Many months later.
Yeah, there he is! Solo for the win! Okay, now I'll actually talk about Blue Beetle. Though my initial thoughts aren't entirely off from the segment, because holy fuck, this movie is so cool! Zolo's performance is obviously incredible as Jaime. Him and his entire family are such a fun group of characters in the movie. The history behind what all the characters had to go through leading up to this movie is really what touched me personally, being of Latino heritage myself. The hardships his family had to face just to have them a home where they can breathe peacefully is such a great starting point for Jaime's journey. He spent years trying to find a way to single-handedly save his family, only to end up as a nobody. So it makes sense when he pretty much rejects the scarab at first. He didn't feel capable because it's not like miracles like this simply happen to his family. There's always a cast behind everything they've been through, the scarab included. Jaime's essentially bonded to Kazi forever and that really upset him. This wasn't what he wanted. All Jaime wanted was to support his family, but it felt like there was always a complication behind even doing that. But the conversation with him and Rudy really set in stone just what Jaime needed to do. Have this different sense of responsibility with Kazi, and to use it to protect his family nearing the third act. And this growth all comes from the love and support that Jaime has with his family, which is a really sweet thing to see. Something that hurts Jenny to see, as she has a family born from condition and blood, not by love. The whole family aspect of the movie can make for some mighty impressive shows of writing. This movie has so many scenes that will get me. This is the only other movie I think I've seen ever that has gotten me to cry twice in a row. The first time is Jaime being completely unable to see his dad in his last moments despite the power of Kazi, and then his actual final moments with his dad. Wait, why are you showing me more sad? Stop it, movie, I fucking can't anymore! The final act is absolutely perfect. It is a climactic battle with the whole family against Cord, where every protagonist and supporting member feels important. It's a collaborative experience with everyone, and my heart was racing after every scene. When Jaime regains control of Kazi again and they work together, oh yeah, this is where I started to fucking froth at the mouth.
You ready, Kaji?
Vamos a partirles la madre.
Hell yeah, let's go!
Thanks, Kaji.
De nada.
Kaji has such unbridled swagger, I fucking love it.
Get over here!
Jaime with the Mortal Kombat, fuck yeah!
Let's party.
Oh my god, the sword! No. No, Jaime, don't do it. You're better than this, please! Okay, thank god. This is ultimately my favorite third act in any superhero movie. I only have one thing to complain about, but it's literally just how I wanted more movie. I wanted more interaction with Jaime and Kaji, honestly. It would have made the connection by a third act pay off way more than it did, even though it is still cool as shit. I think that at least one more scene where Kaji basically recaps Jaime's tragic past, obscuring his memories, would have made the scene where she stops him from killing work way more. But other than that, Blue Beetle may not be the best movie in this list, but it is definitely my favorite. 9 out of 10, I'm so glad Kaji pointed out Jaime's horniness. Well, that's everything. All that I've seen for 2023 that I haven't covered in a video already. Despite the... Wait, hold on. What's on my watch list? The Monkey King on Netflix. Huh. Well, it can't be that bad.
Several bad puns later.
2 out of 10, Monkey is the villain of the movie until he's in prison forever and forced to learn a lesson. So at least the movie ended. Okay, now that's all of 2023. Despite the WGA and SAG-AFTRA Strike, there have been some really good movies from this year. Granted, some of those I haven't seen yet due to running out of time for this list, so here's just a bunch of movies on my watch list I didn't see. And with that out of the way, here's my official top 10 movies of 2023, just so I can technically call this the top 10 video for YouTube. With compromises made with the strike and the writers and actors getting the benefits they definitely deserved, I hope 2024 can be so much better. I think that I'm just overall tired of companies treating these people like not people, but it seems like for now, they're on the path of figuring out that not everything can be solved with a computer. There's always going to be that sense of humanity within these films that will come from these wonderful people. Something that will never be substituted with AI or zombifying actors. So please, studios, treat these people like they are the most important people in this industry. Because to me, they are. I will always love these films, but I love people more. Except Monkey King, what the fuck was Netflix cooking? Thank you all so much for watching. I'm so glad to come back and talk about my past and more. I was so excited throughout the entire process of making this video. And hopefully, you all enjoyed it just as much as I did. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you get notified of future content releases. Become a true Animaniac for up to $6 a month to earn early access to videos, scripts, a Patreon exclusive Discord where you can share your passions the same way I do, and a couple of other neat stuff. I'm your favorite vegetable cabbage boy, signing off.